Today our group will be presenting on the review entitled The Upward Spiral, Using Neuroscience to Reverse the Cause of Depression, A Small Change at a Time, written by Shafwa. So why this book is called The Upward Spiral? This is because our life should not be spiraled down, it should be spiraled up. So which means that the positive elements should be brought towards our life so that it will kickstart the process which involves the positive emotions. This is because positive changes in our life will cause positive neural change. Okay, so now I'll introduce a little bit of the biodata of the author, Alex Corp. Alex Corp is a multitasker. He is an author, a writer, a neuroscientist, and he is also a head coach at University of California Women's Ultimate Frisbee team, which is one of the sports team in the university. Alex Corp furthered his study on brain for almost 10 years, and that he managed to receive his first degree in neuroscience from Brown University, and then he finally received his PhD also in neuroscience from University of California. So currently, he is focusing on being the postdoctoral neuroscience researcher in University of California in psychiatry department. So besides, Alex Corp is also a blogger whereby he writes a very famous blog for Psychology Today named Prefrontal Nudity, You're Brain at School. So this blog discusses mainly about depression, psychology, and neuroscience. Okay. This book, in its first week, it quickly became the #1 new release in depression on Amazon. Okay. The Upward Spiral is intended for a general audience, and it discusses what's happening on the brain and what you can do about it. So this book consists of 2 parts. The first part of this book discusses why the brain gets stuck in downward spiral and detailing the circuits and also the chemicals involved. Meanwhile, the second part of this book discusses how the specific changes of life can change the activity of the brain circuits in reversing the cause of depression. So why the author wrote this book? This is because Alex Corp himself had experienced depression and also anxiety halfway through his senior year in the college. It began with the anxiety about the future, and it became worse. Going to classes had seemed so difficult. He didn't feel like talking. He was having difficulties in sleeping, eating, and even his own girlfriend dumped him because of his behavior due to the depression. However, Alex Corp didn't realize that his everyday activities actually had prevented him from getting worse. For example, he was active in sports, and this situation actually helped him to prevent him to become worse. This situation helped him to change the dopamine signaling in the brain, which makes his life becomes more enjoyable. So he didn't realize all of this until he pursued his studies in neuroscience, and that he wrote this book so that the people will understand what is depression and know how to deal with it. Okay, next. Okay, so the first chapter or the first part of this book talks about stuck in a downward spiral. So what is depression? Depression is seen like a traffic jam, whereby the flow of traffic in a city was very complex and dynamic. In depression, there is nothing fundamentally wrong with the brain. It's simply that the brain circuit which creates tendency towards the pattern of depression. It has to do with the way the brain deals with stress, planning, decision making, and other things. So this means that basically depression is caused by the tuning of the brain circuits in reversing the cause of depression. Okay. Before this, among the symptoms of depression are depressed mood, such as feeling empty and sad, and also insomnia, decrease in the interest in doing all things or almost everything, and also having trouble in concentrating, decision making, and also thinking. So all of these are among the symptoms of depression. However, depression should be diagnosed by the qualified doctor. Okay. Next, neuroscience of depression. Neuroscience of depression refers to the situation whereby our brain rely on various neurotransmitter systems in the brain for different processing, and these can contribute to depression in different ways. Okay, for example, norepinephrine will affect the concentration and also our thinking, and also dopamine system will cause bad habits and lack of enjoyment. So the whole bunch of neurotransmitter system will influence and can be influenced by depression. So basically, our everyday activity will actually contribute and influence the depression level, because all of these activities will affect the chemicals in the neurotransmitter system in our brain. So next.
Next, we move to the next part. Okay, have you been in the situation where you have a plan that's so great that you'll be planning every day, you'll be planning it to be perfect and then to run it smoothly, and then suddenly you start to realize that what if your plan is not perfect, or what if the plan will go wrong, or what if people will not happy with the plan, and then there are so many what if question in your minds. So then you will start to worry, and then you will start to worry. You will start to worry, and the more all the possible deficiency that you create in your brain, the more worry you will get. For example, in this book, the author tells a story about his own personal experience, where there is one time that he invited his friend to eat dinner at his house at 7 p.m. So he planned he want to start preparing for the food at 6 p.m. So at the 6 p.m. he start to prepare for the ingredients, start to cook, start to cut vegetables and so on. And then he realized that his house is was so messy, and the clothes was all over the place. So he started to worry that what is his friend reaction to see his house was so messy? What if he doesn't have enough time to cook, to clean out his house? So he left the preparation behind to start cleaning his house. While cleaning his house, he again realized that he didn't take shower. So he again worried, what if he doesn't have enough time to take a shower? What if his friend reaction, if his body is smelly, and so on and so on. And then for nearly 20 minutes, he just sit at one place without doing anything, just worry about the things that not gonna happen. So at some point, he just realized and decide to just do the thing that he needs to do. And then he start to cook, and then clean his house, and then take shower. After he complete all of his things that he needs to do, the time actually enough. He just late for about 5 to 10 minutes. And the thing that he doesn't know is, for the time that he spent to worry, he actually missed a message from his friends that tell him that they might be late for about 30 minutes. So this story shows that once we fall in this loop of worry, it's not easy for us to break free, because at this point in time we only think about the bad things that will happen. Okay, anxiety and worry are different things, because worry is actually is caused by possible problem that might happen. But for anxiety, this potential problem that we think that for anxiety, our brain trick us to think that this potential problem are actually happening. We think that this is actually happen in real life, but actually it's not happen. So there is distinction between anxiety and worry, but they influence one another. If you have worry, it will lead to anxiety. Okay, next, negative talk. Some people say that for every negative comment that we receive, we actually need positive ones to make us calm. And this statement actually, and for depression people, they actually kind of agree with these statements, because when we are depressed, we tend to think about negative thing only. We doesn't care about the positive aspect. We just think that there is just negativity aspect in our life. To understand this, we have to know that our brain actually pay more attention to emotional events than to those with no personal resonance to us. As example, if we are given a picture of an apple, we will like, oh, it's just an apple. I mean, we doesn't react so strongly. But if we are given a picture of a gun that point directly toward us, we might feel scared, and our brain obviously will spread slowly towards the picture. Depression are resulted from negative thought, and there is one example in this book that the author give. He tells a story about his friend named Billy. Billy is actually a obese person, and he found that eating actually can help him to cope with his stress. But of course with the eating will make his obesity make worse. So there is a part in our brain that called tertium that are responsible for our habits. This also responsible for our bad habit. It makes us repeat things that we find enjoyable in life and happy things.
So now we move on to the second part of the book, which is creating an upward spiral. So there's the Hindu saying that for the first 30 years of your life, you make your habits. But for the last 30 years of your life, your habit makes you. That is why in this book, the author stated that we should set goals and make decisions. So even though the author stated written this book for those with depression, I think that we all can benefit from this. So this is what you should do. First thing first, make a good decision, not the best decision. So the thing is that when we're trying to make a decision, we tend to background all of the negative side of the option. So the decision will become less appealing. Nor they will actually have enough information to actually be confident with those decisions. So you have to remember that it is better to make a partly right decision than actually doing nothing at all. So also, when you trying to make the best decision, it will actually stimulate your brain, and it gives too much emotional stress to your brain. But if you're making a good decision, it is actually a good activity for your brain, and it will also help you to control your life. The next thing here is that you should decide for something you want, not something that you don't want. So actively, you should actually pursue your goal, not doing something that you want. This will force you to think positively. For depressed people, maybe briefly. And for example, instead of saying I don't want to do a bad job, say something like I want to do a great job. This will help you to think positively and also change your behavior. And I think the last step is one of the most important steps, which is take a step in the right direction. So, making your assignment, finishing your assignments in class is like so far away. So a decision without an action is just a thought. And even though thought is really good and it can help you, but it doesn't give a powerful impact to your brain. A decision with an action, it's a different thing. It will help you to take a step further on your upward spiral. So next, why you should decide now? There's a lot of reasons, obviously, but I want to focus on two things that was written in this book. Firstly, is by deciding, it will focus your attention and enhance this perception. So in this complex, complicated life we're living in, there's a lot of irrelevant description, irrelevant matters in our life. So by having decision about something, your brain will focus only on that thing. For example, I give just like Google. Google will base on the search result on things that you want, the most important thing. If the thing that you want is on page 25, you will never find them. Yes, for those with depression, you might think that your problems have no solution right now. But the thing is in there is just at this time, there's a lot of irrelevant things, irrelevant stuff in your head. That's why you cannot think clearly. That's why you need to decide and create the intention to actually change yourself so that your brain will highlight all those important stuff. Next is by deciding, it will help you make more decisions. So you don't need to start with big decision, just tiny little decision. Those who's depressed, just try to think what I want to eat tonight, what TV show I want to watch. When you exercise your muscle, it will get stronger. Just like when you're making decisions, when you decide, it will make your brain circuit more stronger, so that in the future you can think more clearly. So your brain is not a set of stone. When life changes, your brain changes too. For example, when you run a 6-mile run, it is harder than a 1-mile run. But when you keep on exercising, it will become much more easier the next time you run. That is also with your brain. When you start deciding, even though it can be a bit draining, next time you trying to decide, it will be so much easier. And it is one step for you to be an outward spiral. So one quote that I really like written in this book is that no matter how old you are, you can be 60, 40 or 20, you can change your brain. And most importantly, you can improve your life. So that's all.
Okay, let's move on to positive habits. So the previous presenter mentioned about habits, right? So I want you all to focus the topic of the book is about depression, and I want to link the depression and habit. Usually depressed people have the same mood and the same habit. They usually for example, when they wake up, usually their room is very dark, and then they wake up very moody, and they don't have the intention to go through that day happily. Like they don't have a goal for that day. So there's for habits. Habits is created when we do something repeatedly. But for something, we don't we don't need we don't have to repeat it a lot of time. For example, like smoking. When people engage in smoking, in that cigarette already include there's a chemical called dopamine, where this will make people become people want to smoke as a habit. Okay, the next positive habit is about self-affirmation. Self-affirmation is think positively, in which we have to think, we have to change our habit in thinking positively about ourselves. When depressed people, they always think badly about themselves. So to change that habit, they have to list down what the good things they have done. So today I helped a cat. So today today I clean my room. This is all. This when they wrote down and they read this, so they will feel more positive on their life. And stress. Talking about stress, when someone having a stress, they usually have a coping habit when they having stress. So when someone is stressed, like me, if I'm stressed, I usually go find some ice cream or something to that is my coping habit. So if I'm stressed, I go find an ice cream. When people are stressed, actually that is the best time to change our habit, because for like myself, I say that if I'm stressed, I will go find ice cream, right? But if I keep on getting stressed, I will keep on eating ice cream, which is not good for my health as well. So when I'm stressed, I should try to change it to something better. If I'm very stressed, I should stop looking for ice cream. Maybe I should look for vegetables. If I'm so stressed today, I'm so stressed, I'm going to eat tomatoes, a box full of tomatoes. So then when every time we are stressed, we will cope with that habit.
So to cope with stress, we also have to increase our serotonin. By increasing serotonin, we have to get a lot of sunlight. We can get a massage and then exercise. And our environment also and our environment really affect our habit as well. So next. So next is biofeedback. Biofeedback is where there's a connection between the brain and the body. Many people think that what we are thinking, we will react it with our body. But actually, what we are doing is actually react to our brain. Okay, for example, is our body posture. When we actually slouch down our shoulder, so actually maybe we are lazy. So our brain will keep on telling us you are tired, you are lazy, you want to sleep. That's why for example, when we go for interview, for women, when we go to interview, we usually wear high heels, right? Actually, that high heels can boost our confidence level. That's why we wear high heels to be more confident in our interview. And last, actually, okay. When we are not in a good mood, we should encourage ourselves to always smile and laugh. Even we are not in mood, we just go ha 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 ha. Okay, we just go ha ha ha, and actually it affect our brain, and that will raise our good mood. Yes, that's all.
Next slide. Okay, next slide is we rely on the power of others. Why we rely on others? We should fix it for ourselves, right? So this time to fix things, we have to rely on others. This is because downwards spiral is because when you are alone. Usually when you are alone and when you feel sliding downhill, you have to go to the library, for example, or the coffee shop, just to be in the same space with other people. You don't have to interact, but you need to be with other people. That will motivate you. But the problem is sometimes it is difficult to embrace this idea. This is because we usually think that other people will think negatively about us. So the first step is reflecting on the rejection. This is because most people will keep on thinking that worrying what others might say about us. We're afraid that people will judge us, will criticize us. And for example, when we send a message to people, for example, we ask them to go hang out and they don't reply us, we will tend to feel the exclusion feeling, which is make we feel ignored and abandoned by our friends, and that is actually wrong. And you have to ask them what is their true intention actually. Maybe they are in the busy, they have something to do. And second, that one same with goes to shrink your inner beauty. And the third one is don't focus on yourself. We often turn inward and focus on ourselves and think that others will think negatively about us. And always, so stop focusing on ourselves and build some confidence. And the fourth one is take a breath. If we get nervous or depressed over something, we have to take a moment and take a deep breath, and it will control your body. And the fifth one is facing your fears. This is the most important step, which is you have to face your fears and take a move and do what you want, what you actually want. Okay, what you can do in relying the power of others. The first step is thinking about the loved one. This is not about the boyfriend or the girlfriends. The loved one, maybe your parents, your friends, same gender. Thinking
Of course, you can your boyfriend, girlfriend. And then, thinking about this will shift your focus away from the pain. And the second one is holding hands. Since we are a student, holding hands with the student danger as well. And do an activity with friends. Even though you're not in the mood to be with a friend to do activity with them, try to go to a movie or play a games with them. That will be if blend with people that you not feel pressured to talk to, but there will be an opportunity for you to be open up and tell your problem. But if you don't feel like it, you don't have to. And the fourth one is do what you used to enjoy. Even though it seems like you don't enjoy those things anymore, try to involve in those activities or try to involve in any clubs that might distract you from the problems. And the last one, do a small useful task. Small useful task means that you waking up early in the morning and you take a shower or making your bed, and that will, even though it's a small useful task, you will have the slightly benefit from them and it will help you a lot. Next one. And the last step is you meet the psychiatrist or the psychologist. Psychologists or the therapists, they went through a lot of training to treat these people, depression people. So if you feel like this is not going to be a successful, but it will be a slight benefit for us. And instead of you not doing anything right, so psychiatrists will help you a lot. And the second one is antidepressant medication. This will balance your chemicals in your body through a neurotransmitter, and the brain will affect the moods and the emotions.
Alhamdulillah, my name is Nafeesa and I will be discussing the conclusion, the remarks and also the criticism in our book review. So let's see, what can you conclude from this book review? A downward spiral, it consists of 4 matters: worry, anxiety, negative thoughts and also bad habits. You can see that Nan, she's smoking. That's one of the bad habits. So how we counter this? We must do the small steps in going up in an upward spiral. So for instance, we have enough rest, we can exercise and we develop positive habits. So this is the conclusion for our book review. Let's move on to the remarks. So in this book, Alex Cobb, he is a neuroscientist. Like usually you would expect this book to be filled with neuroscience jargons, but surprisingly he explained it relatively well for us laymen to understand. I think that even your grandmother who did not receive any education in SPM or whatsoever, she could understand the words inside this book. For instance, you know that a hippocampus in your brain is used to store long-term memories. Ooh, Alhamdulillah, new knowledge. So let's move on to the second remark. The book's narrative had a very encouraging tone for its readers. For instance, he said, there's nothing wrong with your brain. So those with depression, they can also stop and think, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just something wrong with your brain neurobiologically. So it's not something that you can be blamed for. It's something that is developed through time, your own experience, your own childhood, and so forth. This book also has a very helpful, they have very helpful tips in dealing with depression. It explains all of the reasons as to why you feel depressed in the first place. Like, you would think that, oh, I feel lazy to go to the classes, Dr. Hamam hates me and what so forth. But now you can know why. Why does your brain think that? It's because your brain is biased to having negative thoughts. You are depressed. So then it also had a lot of numbers of suicidal lifelines at the back of the book. Yes, in the back of the book. So I believe that's helpful in case people who read this book yet they still feel depressed. They can look at the end of the book, oh, I can call this person, so that they can prevent suicide. So into the next slide. Okay, so another remark is that the motivation to exercise good habits increases due to the evidence in the book itself. Like in this book, each chapter it has a lot of evidence, a lot of studies regarding the efficacy of the practice of, for instance, resting well, exercising good habits. they have proof of it. If you read the book, then you can know the few examples. So in the next slide, we will also talk about the criticism. I plucked these few criticism from Amazon, and I also have my own criticism. But firstly, let's discuss the criticism made by people on Amazon. So they said
Each chapter is loaded with examples of random human experiments, which I found tedious, and all of the practical advice I've read many times before in various articles and blog posts.
you can see that this person, she's complaining about the many evidences and what so forth. Maybe she's depressed and she's too lazy to read through the research. But I can take this criticism, but I believe that it's essential so that you know, oh, this works on that person, I should try. It creates motivation, no? Okay, for the next criticism that I found online,
Overwhelmed with why I bought the book downplays the difficulty of escaping depression's down spiral.
for my own observation, also per Dr. Michael Marmot, President of the World Health Association, living and relationship conditions are major factors and not easy to change. But in this book, he also explained, like, you can take small steps, and these small steps gradually allow you to get out of depression. That's why it's called the upward spiral. You take small steps so that you can escape depression in the first place. But my own criticism of this book, it doesn't have an index at the end of the book. For me, this book, it has a lot of jargons, it has a lot of words that you would want to see at the back of the book so that you can refer to later in case you want to tell your grand-aunt, your grandma. So I believe that an index would be very helpful for this book. Aside from that, I believe that this book is overall very helpful for those of you who have depression. I really suggest this book, and